small business guide to building brand power that drives growth. Just knowing his background and his success in helping businesses rebrand, I know we're in for a treat today. Before we allow him to take the stage and share his wealth of knowledge, we do want to encourage you to plug into our chat. Keep the chat going. We want to know if your brand was a song right now, what would you be? So let us know if you're chart topping, if you're work in progress demo, or if you're static on the radio. You can leave an A, B, or C in that chat. The chat is where if you have questions, please put them in there. At the end, we will definitely go through them all and try to stump Dustin with some questions. Um, but before we can get to the main event, we do want to thank our featured sponsor, First Central Bank, for today's webinar. They serve Nebraska communities for decades. First Central Bank is more than just a place to manage your money. They're a true financial partner. From personal and banking, business banking to farm and real estate loans, they provide the tools, the expertise, and the local service to help you reach your goals. So whether you're growing your business or planning for the future, First Central Bank is here to support your success because tomorrow matters. And we sure appreciate First Central Bank for being our featured sponsor. So now I'm going to pass it to Tanya to tell you about our featured member.
Yes, our featured member is Turner Technology, and they have been a member with Grow Nebraska since 2022. They did open their business in 1992. They have two locations, one in Omaha, and I know a few years ago they just launched one in Holdridge, Nebraska. And so they have a presence through Nebraska and they just work on IT solutions. So definitely, if you're looking to up your IT game in your business, reach out to Turner. They manage cybersecurity, they can do custom software, all sorts of things. And so I'll let them, if you're interested, tell them all about, have them tell you all about their services. But we would love to, if you're not a member of Grow, we would love to meet with you. Me and Cami, we love learning about new businesses and just seeing how we can support you along the way. If it's joining Grow, perfect. If it's maybe getting you connected to another resource in Nebraska, we still want to meet with you because we care about all Nebraska businesses and we want to see Nebraska thrive. And so feel free to reach out to us. We'll have our email towards the end of this presentation here and in the recording email as well. But I'm gonna let Dustin take it away. So Dustin, thank you for presenting today and I will stop sharing so you can.
Hey, yeah, thank you very much. What a great question. I don't know. I was just trying to think about what my brand song would be. Something poppy and bouncy, I guess. I don't know, something kind of weird. Uh, do you have a song? What's your go-to song?
Ooh, I'm gonna go walking on like sunshine.
Oh, there you go. See,
Yeah.
that's good. That's bright. That's
Okay,
poppy.
fun.
Nice. I like it. Yeah, and feel free dropping questions. I'm happy to chat at the end if there's any questions or anything I can expound on. Let me see if I can shuffle this through here. Look at this. Can you see? Oh, there we go. Do you need to switch? I'm seeing the Grow Nebraska logo. Is that just me? Maybe that's just me.
That's not full screen
Or-
yet. I don't think it's full screen share right now.
Perfect.
Oh, Andrea said that they can see your slides. So
Oh, well, there we go. Great. It's just what I'm previewing then. Awesome. Well, hey, everybody. Thank you for joining me and thank you, Grow Nebraska, for hosting. I'm excited to chat with you all today. This is me. I'm Dustin Black. This is a GIF of a volcano in a classroom. It's clearly from a fishing commercial we made a few years ago, if that's not evident by the classroom. No, but it was a fun project and I just like the energy of it. So I included it with my get to know me GIF. What you're about to see is the result of a few years of side hobby thinking. I've spent my whole career working at a big ad agency, but lately I've been thinking, how do I take everything I've learned in the 9 to 5 and make it more accessible for smaller businesses or not for profits who don't have massive budgets or have huge marketing teams. And this thing started as scattered notes and chicken scratches that I've been collecting over the years. And about 9 months ago, I started organizing all that content into something coherent. And today's session is just a tiny piece of that effort, but I'm hoping you can get some real value out of it. But before we jump in, let me just give you a little context. I grew up in Holdridge, Nebraska. Some of you probably know my folks here, Dave and Linda Black. They owned a small business, Black Motor Company. And growing up around the dealership taught me a lot about how small businesses are the backbone of small communities like Holdridge. But I saw firsthand how challenging it can be to stand out when you're competing against bigger players with bigger budgets. So I went to college at UNL, I double majored in advertising and art, and then I moved up to Minneapolis, trading the cornfields for the city lights. I worked at a bunch of ad agencies over the last 25, 30 years, spanning back to actually several Nebraska agencies. You'll see Bozell and Bailey and Swanson and Arch Rival on there. Each place, they taught me something different about how brands really work. Currently, I'm executive creative director at the Minneapolis-based shop Press Inspire. We're an independent employee-owned company that focuses on huge range of categories and types of clients. But throughout my career, I've worked on all sorts of brands. I got Fortune 100 brands, small startups, really every category, every budget, tourism, packaged good, healthcare. And each brand has had its own set of challenges. And throughout that, I've done a lot of really fun work, a lot of splashy, fun national things. And every project was different. But what I did is I started to quickly realize that there was a pattern that made some brands successful while others struggled. And the companies that struggled, they treated their brand like a hood ornament. They think of their brand building as just slapping on a pretty logo or coming up with a clever tagline or running some flashy ads. But that's not how the successful brands operated. Successful companies, they treated their brand as an engine that empowered all their decisions, from what they make to how they showed up in the world to how they handled crises. Branding wasn't decoration, it was the engine that drove everything. So this led me to develop this 3D brand system, and it's meant to be a simple fill-in-the-blank approach to solidifying your brand. It's an attempt at putting my 25 years of experience into bite-sized pieces that people like my folks could use to grow their business without needing a big agency. And this outline looks like a lot, and it can be as simple as complex as you want to make it. But I broke it down into three parts. And think of it like building a house. Like you have define, which is your foundation, which is you need to know who you are before you can grow. And then you've got dream, and that's your blueprint of where you want to go. What's the 5, 10 year? Where do you want to be? And deploy, that's the construction. That's how we're going to bring it to life starting tomorrow. Let's make a solid 1 year plan. Today, I'm just going to walk you through what I think is the most important topic, and that's positioning. You see that kind of in the bottom left down there. When people ask me, like, hey, I don't want to go through this whole thing, this looks complicated, what's the one thing I should do? I always point to them at the positioning, and that's a really great place to start. So before we go there, I want to take a step back and just even talk about what a brand is. It's kind of an abstract idea, and just so we have some kind of common language. And I find it interesting, so I'm going to tell you about it. A lot of times people think brand is a name and a logo, but in truth, it's way more than that. And a lot of times people think branding is just marketing. And that's where I think a lot of small businesses tend to go wrong. They think the brand is running ads or positioning on social media or posting on social media, maybe updating the website. But that's like trying to build a house without a foundation. Marketing is what you do, but a brand is who you are. And when you get that backwards, you waste a lot of money on tactics that don't connect because there's no strategy holding them together. Branding is the sum of all the interactions a consumer has with a company. I like to talk about a brand as a disco ball. Each tiny mirror is a point of contact, whether that be a product, a sales call, the smell of the waiting room, a uniform, the marketing, social media. And no one person interacts with the disco ball the same way. We all experience the disco ball or the brand differently. Some people see reflections, others see a different way of looking at it. But when all these little mirrors align and work together, that's when a brand truly shines. And to get a little brand nerdy here, let me just go back. I think it kind of helps understand where we got this concept from, but it goes back 200, 300 years. Branding actually comes from an Old Norse word called brandar, which means to burn. And it was literally like just branding cattle to keep track of whose flock was who or whose group was who. And something Nebraska we know about. Pretty straightforward, right? Well, as trade grew, people had more choices. Merchants realized they needed a way to stand out. If you're selling sugar and there are five other people selling sugar, you got to give buyers a reason to pick yours. And that's where branding started to take off. It became about differentiation, not just identification. We went through a period in turn of the century where, the RTBs, the reasons to believe, those really became these sort of old school, let me just tell you about my product. Let me tell you why I'm good. And that's going to help you pick me. And a little boring, straightforward, but hey, they worked. We kind of had a golden age back in the 50s, 60s, where we had branded content. And think of it, why they call them soap operas, right? Like, as is something probably everybody's heard. Soap companies started sponsoring these dramatic TV shows that were advertised to housewives. So we instantly had soap operas. And at this point, brands weren't just selling anymore. They started to really tell stories and become part of people's daily lives that they connected with. And that brings us to modern age and where things are really shifting. The market has gotten so crowded with choices, consumers starting to feel overwhelmed. And they were just looking for another product. They wanted something more. They wanted brands that actually got them, that spoke to their values and their dreams. With so many companies out there trying to sell you things, choice paralysis becomes really real. And that brings us to today. And consumers expect brands to be like friends, to be responsive, understanding, engaging. Think about it. Nike isn't selling you shoes, they're selling you the belief that you can achieve anything. Disney isn't just entertainment, it's wonder that gets passed down through generations. And Coca-Cola, it's not just a soft drink, it's the feeling of sharing a moment with someone you care about. And look, I'm giving big brand examples, but I think that's because everybody kind of knows them and has a feeling with them. But it applies to every company, big or small, right? Every time a consumer decides where to spend their money, they're voting with their values and their current emotional context. And I know this because even in the small town of Holdridge, you have two grocery stores and everyone has opinions about them. Yes, everybody needs food, everybody needs to eat, but which one you choose is probably more of an emotional reaction, you know, and the decisions that that brand made, what to stock, how to have the store, how the customers are greeted. That's brand at work. And there's actually big value in controlling your brand. Bigger companies, they actually assign numbers when they do valuation. Would you believe that your brand could be worth up to half of your total value? Depending on your industry, customer service tends to be way higher in like the 50% range of your entire business value. So this isn't just feel-good marketing fluff. This is real business value that affects everything from your ability to charge premium prices to how well you can navigate crises. So, to talk about the advantage of what a strong brand gets you, first, people are consistently choosing you over the competition. That's kind of a big no duh. And I'm not just talking about people knowing your name, but I mean, they're actually picking you when it's time to buy. Well, that's brand equity right there. Second, and this is a big one, they're willing to pay more for your product. When customers are happy to spend extra dollars for what your brand represents, that's real power. That adds to your bottom line. And finally, when they stick with you, customer loyalty. And you all know, right? Customer loyalty is gold in this business. When people keep coming back to you, even when there are cheaper options out there, that's when you know you have a brand and how that brand is working. So, some sort of bigger ones. Let's talk about like a little bit of a smaller one. This is still a pretty good sized company, but I want to try to break it down to just like a little bit of a smaller level as well. Benjamin Franklin Plumbing. And there are millions of plumbing companies out there. But to differentiate itself from the competition, Benjamin Franklin Plumbing decided to stake a claim and make their brand revolve around punctuality. And that's brilliant that it's so simple. Think of all the things they could have picked, all the things they could have talked about. And you see this, you just know this with the competitors, right? Competitors put out their services and their phone number and they just assume people will call. But doing that risks blending into the sea of sameness and getting lost. Benjamin Franklin Plumbing here, they put a stake in the ground and they built their entire company around punctuality. And that's just the beginning because if you dig in deeper, you have to back it up and you actually see that they have a deeper commitment to it. They've got their promises, they've got a concrete guarantee, no after hours fees, they got 100% satisfaction. I like the one in there. They're actually even paying people $5 for every minute they're late. So they're not just marketing claims, but they're putting their money where their mouth is. They're using the brand to guide decisions of what they're offering and how they're showing up. That single commitment, that one word punctual, helped them become one of the largest plumbing franchises in America. They don't have the biggest budgets and they don't have the fanciest trucks, but what they did do is they got crystal clear on their branding promise and they delivered on it relentlessly. All right. So let's get into it. Let's try to get practical, give you a framework that you can apply today. Your positioning statement, this is the foundation that everything else is built on. And again, it's not a tagline or it's not marketing copy. It's an internal strategic tool that helps you make other decisions about everything from pricing to partnerships. And when you have a clear positioning, every choice becomes easier because you don't have to filter what fits and what doesn't. It becomes just a really great tool for you to use. Positioning statement, it captures your brand unique place in the market in one focused sentence. So in the full 3D brand system course, I just don't jump straight into it. I build into it through the consumer persona, the identifying core human problems, discovering your brand superpower. Today, we're just going to jump right into it, and I'm going to pull the elements together. I'll try to give a quick summary, but the system is meant to build on each other, each section, creating insights that accumulate into a powerful, cohesive brand when all the pieces work together seamlessly. And the point of this, and I've said this throughout the whole course, is it's not to get it perfect, it's to get it on paper. It's to write it down, to make some really hard choices so that your internal team is aligned to the vision. And even if that internal team's one person, to have you have a clear focus is the value of this. So let me just real quick talk about what the positioning is going to do. It's establishing your distinct place in the market and in your consumer's mind. It's that clear value proposition, exactly why someone should choose you over the competition. It's going to articulate your brand superpower, those distinctive qualities that only you can claim, creating that emotional connection that is beyond just features and benefits. And it's going to offer that blueprint for consistency across every touch point. When it's done right, positioning isn't just a statement on paper, but it's the strategic foundation that makes your brand memorable, meaningful, irreplaceable, get you that market value. All right, here's the Mad Lib Granimal slide. It looks simple, but don't be fooled. It does force you to make a lot of hard choices about who you serve and why they care. It's kind of Mad Lib intentionally. Like I said, we sort of build this together in the course, but I'm going to read it Mad Lib style and then I'm going to go break it down. It's not going to make any sense Mad Lib style, but for audience description, who, human problem, brand is a consumer frame of reference, category that's superpower. Brilliant, right? Like 25 years, hooray. No, let's break that down. It's going to make sense as we go through some examples. I'm going to talk just a little bit about the three meaty parts of that, the audience, the human problem, and the superpower. Audience, this defines your ideal customer with a specific detail beyond basic demographics. That's super important. Age, income, location, they matter, but what really counts are the deeper characteristics that shape how they think and behave. You're looking for the psychographic elements that make them unique. What are their what are their attitudes, their values, their lifestyle choices? What's their mindset? Think putting in something like athletic preteens experiencing social changes, like adding just a little bit of definition. Travelers seeking authentic experiences rather than just broad age ranges. So this isn't about casting the widest net. It's about getting laser focused on the people who will genuinely connect with what you offer. The more specific you can get, the more powerful you can speak to them. And that's super critical. We're looking for specificity here. The human problem, this this is the highest order pain your audience needs relieved or gain they want to achieve. And this requires some thinking because it goes deeper than surface level complaints to really uncover that emotional core that drives their behaviors and decision. And This isn't just what they say they want, it's the underlying tension or unmet need that shapes how they see the world. Examples might include yearning for connection in an alone together generation or wanting to feel home anywhere they go. This becomes your North Star for everything you build because it represents the fundamental reason people will choose your brand. And when you nail this, every marketing decision becomes clear because you know exactly what emotional chord you're trying to strike. And superpower is kind of the third main part of this. This is your unique ability that solves their problem better than anyone else in your space. It's not just what you do, but it's what you do differently and better, expressed as both rational and emotional values you deliver. It could be something like, we warm up any space, or make you desired, or offering unique stays and local connections. Your superpower should feel both authentic to your brand's capability and meaningfully different from your competitors. It's that bridge between their problem and your solution, the specific way you can make their life better that no one else can replicate quite the same way. So, super fast summary, but these three elements are meant to work together in the positioning formula to create a picture of why your brand matters and who should care. Each component is going to build on each other, creating a strategic foundation that guides every decision from product development to marketing messages. And remember, this framework applies just as powerfully to small businesses in small towns. I'll make sure I reiterate that here on this. Whether you're running a local hardware store, family restaurant, boutique accounting firm, you're still filling a real human need for people who walk through your door. The local hardware store owner who stays up late because contractors need supplies after regular hours isn't just selling screws and paint, but they're solving the problem of, I need to finish this job and it can't wait till tomorrow. The family diner that knows everyone's usual order isn't just serving food, they're providing comfort and familiarity in a world that often feels impersonal. So, whatever it is you're selling, it's filling a need for the person buying it. Keeping this in mind is going to help you make decisions from the hours of operation to how you greet customers, ensuring that every choice reinforces why people choose you over the alternatives, and this even in small markets. All right, let's go through some examples that helps articulate this a little bit. Snickers candy bar. I'm going to read this through here real quick. For everyday snackers who see candy as an empty, purposeless calorie, Snickers is the only satisfying snack that fills you up. All right. So in the course itself, I talk a lot about Snickers. The history of it started back when they introduced peanuts in the candy bar. It was a protein source. It was a big deal. And then I kind of used that Snickers throughout the whole thing. Uh, so if you want to see more, you can go check that out. But today, I think it does help us sort of show how this you build the positioning in a way that's a little more unique and not just completely fill in the blank with the first thing you think of. So here with the target audience here, your specific target, this, like I said, it's not about casting the widest net, it's about getting laser focused. And I see a lot of businesses, they want to say, like, everyone's our customer. I want to talk to everybody. Well, sure. And of course, everybody can shop at your store and everybody's going to shop at your store. But the thing is, when you speak to everyone, you end up speaking to no one. And nobody likes generic, right? When you get specific and you put your stake in the ground, that specificity actually attracts more people, not fewer. Think about it. When somebody feels like you truly understand them, they're drawn to that. And then others will see that as an authentic connection, and they're going to be curious about what makes your brand so compelling. So for Snickers here, they're not targeting all candy buyers. They're focused on people who see and eat snacks throughout the day and who really need substance, not just a sugar rush. Your audience description here, it needs to be specific enough that when the audience hears the message, they think, oh, yeah, that's exactly me. So the human problem here, and this is the real challenge they face. And it's where a lot of brands get it wrong. They A lot of brands focus on what they think the problem is, but not what the audience actually experiences. The human problem, it has to be beyond just functional. It's often emotional or social or psychological. Snickers, they're not just addressing hunger, They understand that people see candy as an empty, purposeless calorie. And that's just not about nutrition. It's about feeling guilty, feeling like you're making bad choices, feeling like candy doesn't serve a real purpose in your life. That emotional layer is what makes the positioning stick or have just a little bit more of a point of view. Your human problem here, it should make your audience nod and think, yes, that's exactly how I feel about this. And the bonus is if it's like, yeah, like that's exactly how I feel about this, and I haven't heard anybody else say anything like that. Like it's unique. So brand, that one's really basic. This one is straightforward. It's your brand name. But remember, by the time someone hears your positioning statement, your brand should start to carry the weight of everything you stand for. Think about it for Snickers. The brand name itself has become synonymous with satisfaction and feeling hungry in a way that candy bars haven't achieved. So next in here is consumer frame of reference. This is just starting to set up your superpower and kind of giving it a little bit of an edge or a POV. It's a starting point for understanding what you do. And it often includes qualifiers like only, most, largest, first, best, fastest. So you can kind of just take your time and fill in anything there. Category, how you want them to think about solutions. This is your competitive frame of reference, but it's great if it's more nuanced than just industry classification. It's about understanding the mental bucket your audience use when they think about solving their problem, right? Snickers could have they could say, hey, we're going to compete in the candy bar category. But they've stepped out and said, no, we're going to position ourselves more as a satisfying snack. And that allows them to compete against granola bars, nuts, other substantial snacks rather than just ordinary candy bars. And sometimes you want to play with the expected category, but sometimes you want to redefine it entirely or think what that category is. You might be solving something that you're not thinking about right now. And finally, here, that superpower at the bottom. What makes you uniquely valuable? And this is where your brand's unique strengths really shine. Your superpower isn't just about what you do, it's what you do that others can't or don't do as well. Throughout the 3D branding system, we use like an only we statement, and we sort of build that as sort of the exercise. Only we can blank. What can only your brand credibly claim? And it's not enough to be good at something. You need to own it in a way that feels authentic and defensible. Your superpower should be specific enough that if a competitor tried to copy it, it would either feel forced or require them to fundamentally change who they are. And the best superpowers solve human problems you identified in a way that feels natural to your brand. They're not random strengths, they're the exact capabilities your audience needs most, and they're delivered in a way that feels uniquely yours. Snickers, they don't just say tastes good, they own and they try to keep that fills you up or satisfies. And that's ownable, that's defensible. Other candy bars could try to claim satisfaction, but Snickers has built their entire identity around it with a hearty mix of peanuts, caramel, and chocolate. So when you hear satisfying candy bar, you think Snickers first. That's a lot of money and a lot of years of branding at work. This framework, it forces hard choices, and that's really the point of it, because every decision eliminates other options. So when you pick a specific audience, you're saying no to a lot of other people. And when you define your superpower, you're choosing not to compete on other dimensions. And that's what makes it so powerful and why it works. Also, it's what makes it really hard to do. Let's go through a couple more here. This is Airbnb. For travelers seeking authentic experiences who want to feel at home anywhere they go, Airbnb is the trusted travel platform that offers unique stays and local connections. And I really like this example because Airbnb, I mean, there's plenty of hotels out there. There's plenty of other like book online sites, but they're really leaning into this idea of like, hey, seeking authentic experiences. So if I'm on the Airbnb team, and of course they have, thousands of employees, I know it gives me a filter right away for what decisions I make, what type of partnerships we're trying to do, what type of stays are we trying to create, what type of stays are we going to try to market online. And so this instantly becomes a really great North Star for the company and everybody in there to be more empowered to make decisions faster. And that's the point of it. And like I said, it doesn't matter if it's 1,000 employees or one employee, having a North Star really will help you make decisions as you go. Another national one for active individuals who want all-day protection from perspiration. Secret is the trusted antiperspirant that delivers powerful, long-lasting defense while being gentle on the skin. Yeah. All right. And here's back to Benjamin Franklin, how I would have worded that one. For busy homeowners aged 30 to 45 who understand life stands still when there's a plumbing emergency, Benjamin Franklin Plumbing is the punctual plumber that respects your time as much as you do. Okay? So notice how specific this is. Not all homeowners, but busy ones. Not all problems. The one specific problem that you know will snowball, that snowball effect from a day wasted on a home problem. And not all benefits, just punctuality. And this clarity is where they built their empire. Every decision they make can be filtered through this lens. And here's what's brilliant about respecting your time as much as you do. It it feels like a giant no duh, right? Like, of course a company should respect your time, but that's what makes it so powerful. When you hear it, you immediately think, finally, someone gets it, right? We've all had plumbing problems. Uh, but to hear that gives us a better feeling than just like, hey, here's a respected plumber, or here's a phone number. Think about the millions of options they could have put there instead. They could have said the most experienced plumber, or the plumber with the best equipment, or the most affordable plumber, or the plumber that fixes it right the first time. There's literally thousands of directions they could have gone, but they chose the one thing that perfectly matches their audience's biggest frustration. And that's the power of a great positioning statement. It sounds obvious and simple that you wonder why everyone else isn't doing it. But the reality is, most companies get paralyzed by all these options and they end up saying nothing distinctive at all. Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, they had the courage to pick the one lane and own it completely. And because it's so clear and easy to understand, everyone in their organization knows exactly how it's supposed to be delivered. So, without a framework like this, most businesses are throwing marketing spaghetti at the wall. A little social media here, a little advertising there, maybe a new website, but nothing connects or builds on anything else. Having this solid foundation ensures that every effort reinforces your core message and moves you towards your bigger vision. It's the difference between random acts of marketing and true strategic growth. And this scattered approach isn't just ineffective, it's very expensive. When you don't know what makes you different or why someone should choose you, every marketing decision becomes a gamble. Why should we focus on being the cheapest coffee house in town? Or should we focus on being the cheapest coffee in town? Should we be the most artisanal coffee shop? Should we be the fastest, the coziest atmosphere? Without positioning as your North Star, small town coffee shops end up trying to be everything to everyone, which means really they're nothing to anyone. And what's particularly painful for smaller businesses is they can't afford to waste money, right? While the Starbucks or the scooters, they might be able to absorb the cost of unfocused campaigns. Every dollar misspent by a small business is a dollar that could have been used somewhere else. So when small coffee shop runs Instagram ads one week, Google ads the next, then they switch to sponsoring the high school football team, all without a clear positioning strategy, they're not accumulating anything meaningful. They're just creating noise in a marketplace where they're already competing against national chains with $1 million marketing budgets. So the framework gives you what I call like a decision filter. When you know your positioning, you can quickly evaluate whether a marketing opportunity fits your strategy. Does sponsoring the farmers market align with how we want to be perceived? Does buy local message reinforce our unique values? Does the community newsletter ad reach the people we care about that makes us different? These become more simple yes no questions instead of endless debates. Look at Benjamin Franklin Plumbing, right? They could have positioned themselves as reliable or quality, just like everybody else. But by owning punctuality, it shaped everything, their message, their operations, their hiring practice, even their name. Every marketing dollar now reinforces that one punctual message. Small town coffee shop could do the same thing. Maybe they're the coffee shop that knows your order, or where the whole town catches up, or the place that supports local farmers. Once you own that position, every choice becomes clear. Do we offer loyalty cards? What type of loyalty cards? How's the loyalty work? Does that fit in our positioning? Do we stay open late? Does that serve our unique value? Without positioning or aligning it, you're just reacting. You're chasing trends. You're copying what the coffee shop in the next town over is doing, responding to whatever seems to be working for someone else. With it, you can become strategic. You can have that clear reason for being that guides every choice you make. And that's the difference between a coffee shop that struggles for customers and a coffee shop that could become the heart of the community. So, before we move on, let me just share a couple of common mistakes I see. First is trying to serve everyone instead of serving someone specific. When you're trying to appeal to everyone, you appeal to no one. Second, focusing on features instead of customer problems. People, they really don't care about your features. They care about their problems. And third, using generic language that any competitor could claim. If your competitor can say the same thing, it's not that differentiated. You could probably find a way to twist it into something that you can own. Like, I do get annoyed when people are like, ah, somebody else says that. No, no, no. Maybe you're the first to say it. Maybe you have a unique way of saying it. So be cautious with that. Watch out. Finally, making it about you instead of them. That kind of wraps up a lot of these, right? Your customers are the hero of the story, not your company. So, a few watch outs. If you avoid these, you're ahead of 80% of your competition. I will say you don't have to do this alone. Here's the plug. The 3D brand system course, we go deeper into every element we've touched on. You can get downloadable frameworks, step-by-step guides, and real examples from businesses like this. And even if you don't buy the course, if you don't take the course, just commit to getting clear on your positioning, writing out that Mad Lib style statement. This alone is going to transform how you approach every business decision. Like I said, it's not about getting it right. It's just about aligning on it or having something on paper, and it can evolve. But there's so much good that happens when your team, your business, your leaders align on that vision. It's just going to really help you as you move forward. And of course, the bigger plug, if Press Inspire, we're a great agency in Minneapolis. We're always looking for companies and businesses to help. So on a much larger level, happy to chat with you about any opportunities you might have. So with that, appreciate you all tuning in. I would love to answer any questions you might have about any of this.
We do have one question so far. What is your recommendation for a small town boutique to start for paid advertising? Right now, we only do organic posting on Facebook and Instagram. We do have a website. We've been open 10 months. What would be a realistic, low budget approach to start paid advertising?
Yeah, that's great. That's a good question. Uh, organic organic is going through so many changes, right? Like organic is people that have already opted into your brand who have chosen to follow you. Organic is at the behest of the algorithms and it changes and can be squirrely. Organic tends to be a little bit meme chasing, and fill into the everybody else is doing it. We see a lot of like, oh, we're chasing trends, and it looks like every other chasing trend. There's no way to stand out. So my advice is within paid, what I like about paid is it allows you to go after new audiences because you can go in there and say, this is the zip code I want to hit, or this is the area I want to hit. And you're going after people that might not know about you, or you can actually target your competitors. So you can say, if they like these, businesses, I want to serve them messages. And then this is where it's really important that you get clear. I don't organic don't do the meme chasing, don't do the generic, don't do the like here's who we are. This is where like having a positioning statement and then making some paid ads, or they can be organic that you boost, or um influencers. You can always do partnerships and things like that if they're in the right area. Try to make them beyond strategy or make them beyond brand, right? So if you're going to be the boutique that has the widest selection or the best customer service, or we will custom order anything for you, you need to just beat the heck out of that And that becomes your paid, like find 10 ways to say that on paid social, figure out what your budget you can be, and then just start testing and learning, right? You start running one, seeing what you get hit, start running another. Play with CTAs, stop by today or order online or whatever. Play with finding a creator in your area that can help you make ads or be on their channel. Um, it's just super important that you keep that like point of differentiation or that pain in mind so that you can actually be consistent um, and have a point of view. So I think that's my like quick paid soapbox.
No, thank you. We appreciate you answering that question. Feel free if you guys have any other questions to put it in the chat or put it in the Q&A. We'll stay on a little longer and see if there's any that fill in. I definitely think that we got some really good takeaways today, especially about picking a position, finding your uniqueness, and being strategic. Um, sorry,
Let's,
Justin, we had
I'm
another
seeing I pulled up I
question.
got the chat going over here
Oh, cool.
too. Yeah.
Perfect.
What's a good starting budget for paid advertising? I know that's a loaded question, but what's a good range I can get away with actually making a difference and not overspending? I hope that makes sense. I mean, yeah, that's a great question. I mean, honestly, like I've seen you can make a difference with $10 a day. Um, I think uh so I have a whole other little side gig going on as well called Snack Shack. Hello snackshack.com. We are now being incubated within Press Inspire, but it's a uh paid social test and learn through microcultures. That's a mouthful, but what it is your dollar can work a lot harder if you prime it correctly. So I'm gonna see if this makes any sense, but the way that the algorithms are working right now, both for paid and organic, is they read your the copy that is said, right? They translate it and then they serve it to people that they think are going to be in that bubble. Because we live in an age now where everybody's algorithm is completely different, right? Every single person, twin sisters would have different algorithms because they had different interests. So we're no longer in the days of social media, we're in the days of interest media. And so buying demographic, buying zip codes is one thing, but what you're really trying to do is get into the interest, get into the bubbles and the circles. And so the more specific you can be with who you're talking to and why you're talking to them in the script, in the tagging, like you look up ghost tagging, right? So like you've got your tagging that happens and then you have ways you can ghost tag. What you're really trying to do is train the algorithm, train the robots to deliver your message to the right person. So smaller budgets can still be effective if you prime them correctly so they hit the audience that's more receptive, if that makes sense. So Meta is coming out with an AI-based agency, and they're basically going to say, "Give us a budget and give us a business problem. We're gonna have you help you hit it." And they're going to go through tonnage. They're going to say, "We're just going to give you 1 million hits, and we're just going to hope of that million, 1,000 people click or something like that." Smaller businesses don't have the luxury, and we don't necessarily want to just have the trash out there. You want to have a very clean POV, a very smart positioning, who you're going after. And so you can kind of, I don't want to say trick the algorithm, but by getting all that stuff lined up and having your words be correct, putting your paid dollars in, even if it's $10, hopefully the algorithm is going to feed it to that right micro audience that is looking for that. And you're tossing better seeds on more fertile soil, if it kind of makes sense. Um, so I would start at $10 a day if you can afford that. And if assuming you've got your positioning okay, assuming you're doing some ghost tagging, assuming you've got your script written a way that's going to hit that microculture, and AI is phenomenal for all this. So anything I've said, like just go into ChatGPT, go into Claude, and say, hey, I want to hyper target my microculture to make sure my dollars are spent better. Help me. Give me a step by step. And I tell you, it's going to do it. Like you don't need an agency. Like it will train you how to do it and it'll train you like, hey, these are the scripts I'm thinking about or whatever. And it can help you make sure it's primed correctly so that it will land on the right place. And that's why I believe in paid a little bit more than organic. Organic is people that already trust you, the algorithm, like whatever. Like maybe you got to do that, just to stay relevant. That's fine. But the paid or putting money behind some of the organic, like just make sure when you do it, it's primed correctly and you're going to have a better chance of it hitting. Really long answer. But that's my 2 cents.
No, but this is recorded. So if you weren't writing down exactly what to do, just go back and watch this and you'll know what to plug in to your AI to get that step by step. That was a great. And then the analysis of, the fertile soil with the right seeds, it's great.
Yeah,
Um, have had a few more questions
sure.
filter in.
How long should we go with certain positioning before we make adjustments? How do we know we've hit it? I think there's a big difference between who you are at your soul, like your DNA, and then like what's the campaign you're putting out in the market, right? So positioning, how do I say this? I think who you are, what drives you, what your values, like all of that, like probably doesn't change that much. So it's like a 5 to 10 year, like here's what I'm really good at. Here's what I'm going to take out. You can tweak it more often and do some test and learning onto how it resonates or what it is you need to be saying. And that's where like actually I love paid social as a way to sort of test and learn different messages, right? If you're put $10 behind this message, $10 behind this message and see what kind of hits. Um, in the 3D brand course, we talk about like your who you are, like your define should maybe change every 5 to 10 years, whereas your deploy, what you're doing now, can change every year, every 6 months. And that's I'm trying to figure out a short answer to this. Who you are at your core is difficult to change, but what the market needs, you can react to differently. So you should constantly be sort of testing, learning, or seeing what the market needs because it's constantly changing, right? So to go macro again for a second, like a Purdue chicken, when I was working on that, like they know they offer clean protein. They feed America chicken. They're family owned. They're trying to do it the right way. But every year you would kind of look at what the market needed to react. So Ozempic, hey, how do we react to people needing protein in their diet because they're doing these weight loss drugs? Oh, kids are short on protein. How do we react to that? So you can be changing this underneath here, the message, the go-to-market plan, your messaging quite often to react to market or see what's working. But kind of who you are and your positioning is slower and should probably be, hey, this isn't feeling right anymore. Like let's tweak it or let's revisit it. But I think those are kind of two different things. Feel free to change off and just make sure it reacts to culture. Kind of be slow to change who you are at your core because that's hard to fake. Maybe the short answer on that.
Mhm.
I did the Mad Libs for my business, but I'm struggling with the is section. I worry about being braggy or something that feels it needs to be proven, like only or best. What are some thoughts? Um, the is part there is meant to sharpen the whole story. And this is internal facing. Like I don't think you would necessarily this is not your marketing plan. This is not your comm strategy that you would go out into the market. This is just more of like an internal thing. So I don't have several answers to this. One of it is like be braggy. Like I don't, like whatever. Like we're the only one in the market that delivers on whatever customer service. Like you said, I don't know if I'd put that in the market, right? Like yeah, it doesn't have to be external facing language, but internally I want people to feel like we are the best at this. So feel free to be a little braggy in your internal documents to get your team aligned to what your vision of what you want to be or how you're building your company. Externally change it. If that still feels weird to you, there's just find a different modifier, right? Like we are um locally or uh I don't know. Part of me is just like screw it, be a little braggy. Like I don't know, like it don't use that externally, but it's okay because this is meant to be a top of the fun. This is meant to be a painted on the wall and everybody sees it, or like we revisit with the leadership every now and then, and it aspirational, right? Like none of this is meant to be. And that's probably a good point, I didn't make. It's not necessarily meant to be like exactly who we are now, but like, hey, this is where we want to go. This is sort of an aspirational document that ties in who you are, but also like we feel like we can be the best. We feel like we are the sharpest or the tightest or whatever. Um, so don't be afraid to make this slightly aspirational, knowing that you're not going to live up to this every single day, but like, yeah, like this is what we want it to be. Um, and I the specificity of this is what's so important. And this is where like the audience is trips people up a lot because they're like, everybody comes into my coffee shop. No, 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 cool, great, everybody can, but it's people are attracted to individuality. People are attracted to a point of view. You know, people are attracted to, you know, they always say like you either love something or you hate something. Like, great. Like you just need to have a point of view so that people can have a feeling about you. You know, if you're milk toast, then nobody remembers you. Nobody has a feeling about you. So by going in here and putting a few sharp edges in there is okay. You know, how it shows up in the world, you know, you can figure out. Thank you, Andrea, for the plug. Appreciate that. Yeah, is there anything you've seen or you're a quarter of the way through, but any other final questions? I really appreciate, and like I said, my email, I guess it's not up anymore. Wait, watch this, watch this. Look at this fancy. I can go, oh, wait, it's my email. Feel free to shoot me a, you know, note or whatever. Uh, happy to interact, but yeah, just really appreciate everybody sitting, taking their lunch hour for this.
Yes, we too thank you for joining us today. Thank you, Dustin, for sharing all these great wisdom, I'm going to say, and reminding us that even though we can be humble, we can still be proud and we can be the best and we can aspire to, you know, grow and have extra employees too if you're not to that point. So, this is really great. We will have a recording of this. Be on the watch out for a follow-up email, and we'll be sure to include Dustin's contact information if you want to reach out to him. Um, but again, thank you for today. And we want to remind you that we have some additional upcoming trainings. So if you're interested in our September 8th, we've got From Talking to Connecting Communication that really drives results. And then the following week, we have Mastering Time by Knowing How You Work. So what's stealing your time and how you can make the most of it. And so go ahead, get registered. We'll look forward to seeing you on one of those upcoming trainings. And then if you have any questions for us, feel free to reach out. Tanya and myself, our contact information is on this screen. But again, thank you for all of this information and for joining us. And we'll look forward to seeing your businesses continue to thrive.